slope is talking about the steepness of a line. And so you kind of think of a mountain. When we introduced this, I talked about going skiing and how, you know, there was different steepness, but they used colors instead of numbers. Well, luckily we use numbers here, but steepness, so you think of a mountain that, you know, is really steep, and then you have, you know, things that are less steep, like, you know, Waco is really not all that steep. And so, so when we're talking about slope, we're talking about how steep it is. Really quick, just a real quick talk about absolute value. Absolute value is when you look at the number without worrying about the positive or the negative sign. Okay, we're just going to look at the number itself. And so if you look down where it shows some examples, and it says more steep or steeper, we only look to see if the number is bigger than 1. Now, we don't care about if it's positive or negative. We just want to know the number itself. If the number is bigger than 1, then it's more steep or it's steeper. So you can see some examples. 3 is bigger than 1, so it's steeper. On -2, we don't care about the negative. The number 2 is bigger than 1, so it's steeper. So absolute value means that we don't care about the positive or negative. We're just focusing in on the number. Now, if you look at the fraction, the way to tell if a fraction is bigger than 1, if the top number is bigger, then it's bigger than 1. If the bottom number is bigger, then it's less than 1. Okay. All right. So looking at the next set of examples, these are all examples that are less than 1. So you look at 1/2. So 1/2, the number on bottom is bigger, that's less than 1. The -1/3, we don't care about the negative, but the 3 is bigger and it's on the bottom, so it's less than 1. And then 0.6, the decimal is less than 1. Okay, now, the only thing that the negative does, and this is that very last sentence, the only thing that the negative does is change the direction. So positive goes uphill. If you change it to negative, it goes downhill. So all it does is change the direction. All right, so everybody click on the next, and we're on slide 3. Okay, so y'all are gonna have to answer this question, okay? So you're gonna click on more steep or less steep. Now, there's 2 ways you can look at this. First off, that black line is the parent function. The red line is the new function. So you can look at the picture and tell me, is that red line more steep or less steep? But you can also look at the equation. So if you look over on the right, it says that the red equation is f of x is equal to 3x. And so the number 3, which is our slope, is if it is bigger than 1, if it's more than 1, it's more steep. If it's less than 1, it's less steep. Now, obviously, I can't see what you're picking, but click on a button and hit submit, and it will tell you if you're right or wrong. Okay, so it'll say yes if you're right, or it'll say no if you're wrong. Now, if you're wrong, you're more than welcome to go and change it so that you get it right. Okay, so you should have clicked on more steep. So, and then hit submit, and it will tell you that, yes, great job. Okay, so it's more steep because 3 is bigger than 1, or if you're looking at the red line, that red line is way more steep than that black line. Okay, so everything is being compared to that black line. That black line is the parent function. All right, hit next. Let's go to slide 4. Oh, I got these boxes here. Okay, so now we're looking at this blue line. And so I don't care if you're looking at the blue line as compared to the black line, and you can tell me if it's more or less steep. So if it's flatter, it would be less steep. If it's going where it's a lot higher, then it's more steep. Or you could look at the actual equation. So we see the blue equation has a 1/2 x. Is 1/2 more than 1? Okay, if it's more than 1, then you're going to click more steep. If it's less than 1, you're going to click less steep. So you should have chosen less steep. Okay, and like I said, when you hit less steep and submit, if it'll say you're right. If you hit more steep, and submit. It'll say you're wrong. You can change your answer. So I don't want you to, think, oh gosh, I got to get it right, or it's going to be bad. I want you to try to answer. And if you're wrong, we learn. Okay. You can change your answer. All right. Click on the next one. Okay. So this has a whole bunch of questions here. So we're going to start with that very top question. So they're talking about the purple graph. Is it more or less steep? Well, guys, I don't know about y'all, but because of the fact that this is switching directions here, okay, I personally struggle telling if it's more or less steep. You may not. So I like to look at the equation. When I look at the equation, that negative 3x, remember, we don't care about the negative right now when we're talking about more or less steep. We only care about that 3. Is the 3 more than 1? I have to think of the words I'm using here. Is it more than 1 or less than 1? Okay. If the 3 is more than 1, you'll click more steep. If it's less than 1, less steep. You should have chosen more steep. Okay. Because 3 is bigger than 1. Okay. And like I said, I try to give you enough time. I hope you're trying it before I ever give you the answer. All right. Then it says, does the negative sign affect the steepness of the graph? Okay, well, we kept saying we're not going to look at the negative to determine if it's more or less steep. So if we're not even looking at the negative, then would it affect the steepness of the graph? No, it would not. So you would choose no on that second question. All right, and then you're going to have to scroll down just a little bit so you can see all of the check boxes. So it says check all that apply. So there might be one box, there could be more than one box. So it says, how do negative signs affect the slope? So do negative signs make the graph shift up? Okay. If it does, you'll check it. Do the negative signs make the slope shift down? Okay, well, if it does, check it. Does the negative slopes only change the direction of the line? So just like before, you click your answer. If you get it wrong, you can switch it. We never talked about up or down. So slopes don't affect up or down, moving the line up or down. Okay. It does change the direction of the line. Okay. So when it says shifting down, it's talking about moving that whole line down, not it going downward. And so what it does is it changes the direction of the line from going uphill to downhill. Okay, so downhill is not being shifted down. So you should just check that very bottom box and you can hit submit. All right, let's hit next. Okay, so what we're going to do now is you are going to drag these boxes and try to match them. Okay, now this might be a little bit confusing for you. So if you want to come back and look at my screen for a second, then you can click on that blue zoom button and it will make it unminimize. And then once you see what we're doing, you can go back. So what I would do is I'm going to move some stuff out of the way. I'm going to pick one of these boxes. So me personally, I'm going to start with this g of x equals negative 3x. And I'm going to put that up at the top. So what do I know about this? I know that the 3 means it's going to be more steep, but the negative means it's switching directions. So when you look at all the pictures with graphs, remember the black line is the parent slope. We're not looking at the black line. We're looking at the red line. So we are looking for a red line that because it is negative, it's got to go downhill. Well, most of these red lines are going uphill. This right here is the only one that's going downhill. Now, when I put these together, if I did it correct, notice it says total correct is 2. Okay, that means we did it right. So then you're going to grab another one. Okay, well, let's see. I'm going to grab 2x. So it doesn't matter which one you look at, but I'm going to grab 2x. And so the number 2 means that it's steeper. So I need a red line that is steeper than the black line. And so let's see, I see 2 of them that are steeper. And I don't know if you're looking at mine or not, but you know, there's 2 of them where the red line is a little bit steeper. Grab one of them and put them on top of the 2x. If you did it right, it'll change the total correct to 4. If you did it wrong, then you can pull off that graph and switch it with the other one that's steeper. In the end, obviously, even if you keep picking the wrong ones, you can keep switching it out till you get it right. And it says 4 correct. Okay, then I'm going to go to the equation that has 3 on top and 2 on the bottom. Now, 3 is bigger on top. So if the number on top is bigger, then this has to be more steep. Well, there's only one other line that's more steep. So drag it and put it on top. Okay. So then we've got 2 equations left. So I'm just going to start with 1/2. And Shavers mentioned something that the closer it is to 1, is that how you said it?
Yeah.
The
The
closer,
closer the fraction is to 1.
the closer the fraction is to 1, then the closer it will be to the parent function. And so, you know, if you know the fractions 1/2 and 2/3, 2/3 is actually closer to 1. So I need the line that's closest to the parent graph. That would be this one. And then, and it says now I got total 8 correct. And then this is the only one that's left. If I did it all correct, it'll say all correct, yes. Total correct, 10. So
You got a bunch of blue boxes on yours.
yeah, no, I don't know why these blue boxes are here.
I have mine open and I don't have those. I don't know.
What is this? Yeah, that's what I want to know.
Oh, that's your little toolbar that you had pulled up a while ago.
I have no idea why that came up.
I don't know.
Okay, so I'm going to assume, unless somebody starts shouting at me, that y'all have gotten all these done. Nobody's shouting at me. Okay, so let's go ahead and hit next, and we're moving on to 7. Now, I got some bad news on this one. The total correct button doesn't work on this one. Okay, so on this one, the reason it doesn't work is because we have multiple things that say less steep, and you would have to get the exact right one to get it correct, and you might. So you might be able to find the correct one, but okay. So I want you to pull one of the pictures, you know, kind of over to the side. I chose the one that said 2/3 x. Now, the first thing that we're going to do is pull the, we're going to find the slope. I think that's the easiest thing to do. Slope is always in front of x. So find the one that says m equals 2/3 and put it right on top of that graph. Now that definitely should match. So notice it says correct, that there's 2 correct. Okay. Now, would that slope of 2/3 be more or less steep? So
hey, real quick, one thing we could do on this, since the less and the more won't give them a correct answer, what if we just went through and matched the slopes?
the slopes first?
All the slopes first.
Okay,
Because
so let's do
then
that.
the correct number will be right until
Yes, and then it won't matter if everything screws up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go ahead and match up all the slopes with these graphs. So I grabbed 1/2 x, and then I'm going to move the slope 1/2 on top of it. And so it moved my total correct to 4. I'm going to grab 3/2x and find the slope that says 3/2. I'm going to find -3x and find the slope that says -3. And then I'm going to move the negative or positive 2x and the positive 2. Okay, so if all you've done is match the slopes, it should say that you've got 10 correct.
Right.
Okay, so now if this part, the more and the less steep screws up, it's not that big of a deal. So let's find all the ones with the numbers bigger than
The
one.
parent function.
So look at the ones where the slope is bigger than 1. Well, definitely 2. So we're going to grab a more steep and put it on top. And like, I know I didn't grab the correct more steep. Now, if you wanted to, you could keep switching the more steeps until you find the one that's correct. It's totally up to you. I don't care.
Nope. I know which one it is.
So I ended up finding the right one. Okay, what's the next one that's bigger than 1? Now remember, we don't include the negative sign. So just what number is bigger than 1? Well, 3 would be. So I'm going to drag a more steep over to -3 because 3 is bigger. Got the right one. And then the last one would be 3/2 because the 3 on top is bigger. So anytime that the number on top is bigger, that's more than 1. So that's more steep. All right, and then the 2 fractions where the number on bottom, so 2/3 and 1/2. So the number on bottom is the bigger number. Then we're going to move a less steep there, and then move a less steep to the other one. All right, I have to tear mine apart because if I don't, then it won't be ready for the next class.
Very good.
I know. Usually don't remember that. All right, so let's hit next. Okay, so now we're going to talk about what moves a line straight up or straight down. So I want you to take a look at this black line. That black line is our parent function. So that's our basic one. Okay. Now I want you to notice the red line looks exactly like the black line, except they moved the y-intercept up 2. Okay. So if you look over to the right where it says red line, it says the red line is y equals x plus 2. So notice that the y-intercept, which is the number at the end, the b, is plus 2. So if that number, if that y-intercept, okay, is a positive number, it's going to move up. Look at the blue line. The blue line got moved down from the parent function. So if you look at the equation for the blue line over on the right, it says y equals x minus 2. So if that number is negative, then it's going to move down. And by negative, a minus is a negative. So if it's minus 2, it's -2. So the y-intercept is going to go down 2. So it's not the number in front of x that moves it up or down. It's the number that's not with x. That's our y-intercept, and that moves it up or down. Okay, hit next. Let's go to 9. Okay, so they're wanting us to, and on this one, the all correct and total correct should match. All right, so I'm going to start with, let's see, let's start with the equation x plus 2. So see if you can find the equation that says g of x is equal to x plus 2. All right, so that x plus 2, and by the way, if you cannot see these graphs very well, if you click on it once, it'll blow it up for you so that you can see the graph a little bit better. And then when you want to make it shrink back down, you'll just hit the X button. Okay, so I'm going to blow this up real quick just so that you can see. Okay. So,
And do remember, these are in y equals mx plus b form. So when we worked on slope, slope's in front of the x and the y-intercept is b, which is by itself. So that'll help you.
so we're looking just at that +2, which is that b that he's talking about, that +2 at the end. That +2 means I'm looking for a red line that is still the same direction as the parent, but it moved up, and it's got to move up 2. Okay. I actually see 2 lines that move up, but only one of them moved up to where it's crossing the Y axis at 2. And that's this one right here. It's crossing the Y axis at 2. So drag the one that you think it is and put it on top. And if it's the right one, it should say the total correct is 2. All right, so now I'm going to get the one that says g of x plus 1/2. G of x plus 1/2. Now, because it's positive, it's got to go up. And it's only going up 1/2. Well, when you look at these pictures, there's only one red line that goes above the black line. That's got to be our answer, because when it's positive, it goes up. So grab that other one that goes up and put it right on top. So now I'm going to choose the one that says x minus 3/2. So x minus 3/2. So the minus 3/2 means it's going to shift down. It should look exactly like the parent graph, but it's going to shift down. Well, there's only one graph like that. So you should be able to find that red line that's below it. All right, so all we're left with now are 2 of them that say that it's minus x. Okay, so I'm going to choose the one that says minus x minus 2. So what does the minus in front of the x, what does that do to a line? So remember, in front of the x is slope. So what does the minus in front of the x do? The minus in front of the x switches the direction. So instead of going uphill, now it's going to go downhill. So if you look at the 2 graphs that are left, both of these go downhill. Okay. So now the minus 2 tells me that it's got to cross at the y-axis at -2. So which of these is crossing the y-axis at -2? That means it's going to go down 2. So hopefully you're grabbing this one. So put it up there. If you did it right, then you should have a total correct of 8. And then the last one, just drag it on to the -x plus 3. And if you did them all right, it'll say all correct, yes, and you should have a total of 10 correct. I'm hoping you're going way faster than what I'm doing. Like you're just sitting there bored to death because I keep talking and you're already done. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and hit next here. Okay, so once again, because there's multiple things that say up and down, we're going to save those for last because those may not be right. So I want you to choose one of your graphs. And on this one, we're just locating the y-intercept, which is B. So I just went ahead. It doesn't really matter which one you choose first because we're just going to match up all the B's. I chose the one that said x minus 3/2. So we're looking for the one that says B is equal to -3/2 and drag those together. And then I have -x plus 3. I am only worried about that plus 3. So which of these has B is equal to plus 3? Drag that, or it just says B equals 3. Okay. Then I'm going to look at the one that has -x minus 2. So I'm looking for a -2. B is -2. So I found that, put that on there. Your total correct should be going up because we're just taking care of the B's. All right, so now I got x plus 2, and we're going to find where B is just 2. And then the last one says 1/2 and drag B there. So if you did all those, you should have 10 total correct. Now we got to figure out if it's going up or down. And like I said, this might match, it might not. And, you know, if you want to keep switching, so like if we know it's up and you want to switch them all till you find the one that does fit, that's fine. But you can just put any up you want. All right, so let's find all the ones that have a positive B. So I'm going to start with the B equals 2. I know that's up. Hey, look at that.
Good guess.
And then the b equals 3 would also be up. So all these numbers that are up, that are positive, are going up. And then the b equals 1/2 would also go up. And then the two that are left that are negative, both are going down. So anytime that b is negative, it's going down. So the 3/2 is down, and the -2 is down. All right, I got to tear mine apart. All right, so y'all can go ahead and go to the next slide. It'll be slide 11. All right, so I'm going to the next slide, slide 11.
These are just notes.
Oh, these are just notes. So it's just saying, oh, so it's just saying something that we should know pretty good, at least the first part, that f of x is the same thing as y. So when you see f of x equals x, that's just y equals x. Okay, so on this one, notice where it says g of x is equal to 2f of x. Well, that's just kind of weird right there, isn't it? But because of the fact that f of x is really just x, really, this is just like a normal x right there. So when it says 2f of x, that's not saying 2x plus 3. And so the number in front of f of x is our slope, and the number in front of, or the number after the f of x, that plus 3, is our y-intercept. So it's still kind of the exact same thing, but they write it in a really weird way, okay? So it sucks that it looks like that, but I think we can still handle this. All right, so hit next. We're on 12. So slide 12. All right, so they want us to look at this red line. So remember, the black line is our parent function. We're looking at the red line. So we want to look at a couple of things. We want to look at, is it more steep or less steep? We want to look at if it's still a positive slope or a negative slope. And then we want to look and see if the y-intercept changed. Did it move up or down? So right off the bat, just looking at this, I noticed that the y-intercept didn't change. So if you look over to the right, I know that there is no way it's going to be the answer that has -4 or -2 at the back, because -4 and -2 means that it would have moved down 4 and down 2. This didn't move at all. We see that the slope is still positive, so I know that the answer is either going to be G. They're both G, stupid. All right, it's either going to be 1/3 f of x or 3f of x. So here's the question. That red line, is it less steep or more steep than the black line? Well, it's flattening out. So if it's flattening out, it's less steep. That means the number is going to be less than 1. And so 3 itself, the very bottom answer, is definitely bigger than 1, but 1/3, because the bigger number's on the bottom, that is less than 1. So the answer will be the second option, because 1/3 is less than 1. I hope that's kind of making sense there. It's the exact same that we were doing if it would have said 1/3 x. If it would have said 1/3 x, then I think y'all would have gotten it a lot easier, but saying 1/3 f of x just seems weird. Coach, any other way you would explain that?
The only other thing that we might do is we've always taught them to look for slope first.
Oh, and I looked at y-intercept first.
And so we might, if we always, stick with that and look for slope first,
Yeah.
we would have got it right away.
Yep, you're right. So let's definitely do that. We've always done slope first. Let's stick with slope first. Okay. All right. So let's take a look at 13. So if you chose the second option and hit submit, it should say yes. Now remember, if you are trying to do this before I actually say what the answer is and you get it wrong, you can switch your answer. So I would really like for y'all to try to do this before you hear me say the answer. All right, so we're on slope 13 or question 13. All right, so right off the bat, let's stick with what we've been doing. Has the slope changed, or is the slope the exact same? So notice that these slopes are parallel to each other, aren't they? They're both positive and they're parallel. The slope has not changed. Remember, parallel slopes are the same. So when you look at your options, it can't be the second option or the fourth option because the slopes have changed on those. So is that how you would have said it there, Shavers?
Yeah, I would have just that, or they can pick 2 points and find the slope. I mean, if they don't realize that it's parallel, they can go up 1 over 1 and just know that it's going to be just X.
So you can also, what he's saying there is you can actually do your slope, do rise
Right.
over run to find out the slope to see if it's changed. So
I just don't
on
know
this,
if they're comfortable enough with the parent function knowing that it's y equals X. Yes.
yeah, I agree with that. So when we look at this, the only thing that's happened to this line, the slope's still the same, is it moved up 2. So the y-intercept now is at a positive 2. So take a look at your answers. Which of these changed the y-intercept to a positive 2? Well, the first one changed the y-intercept, but that's a negative 2. So the third option should be the one that changed it to a positive 2. So the answer would be the third option. All right, 14. So same thing here. We're looking at slope. Now we know the slope's still positive, and you can see that the two that have a positive slope right there, or the two that have a number for slope are still both positive. Now, is that more steep or less steep? Okay, well, you know, if you had to go up that hill right there, if you were slope dude and you had to go up that hill, man, you'd be working pretty hard, wouldn't you? That's pretty steep right there. And so that is way more steep than the parent function. And so I would expect that the number would be bigger. I don't want to use the word bigger. It would be more than 1 because it's more steep. And so which of these has a slope that is more than 1? It should be that second option right there. So that 5 is bigger than 1, so it should be more steep.
Right. And if you forget slope, remember, find 2 perfect points. 0, 0. You go up 5 over 1, and that's your slope. So it's 5. There's only one answer with a slope of 5.
Exactly. So if you are good at doing slope, if you do the slope, then you'll see your answer right away. All right. Okay. So here's what I want y'all to do. I think these last 7 slides are all questions. And I just simply want you to go through and answer them. Okay. So I want you to try to do the best you can. We've got 5 minutes to the end of class. Go through, pick an answer, just like on all the rest. If you get it wrong, you can change your answer. Okay. But I want y'all to finish out the rest of these slides just on your own and see if you can figure out these answers. And once you're done, there is no final submit button. So on that last slide, when you hit submit, it just kind of sits there. You're done and you can X out of everything and you'll be done for the day. So just go ahead and quickly go through those and you can finish them up real quick.